Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out. Guys, today we're going to be talking a little bit about stealth and how it's important in fishing and how it's really overlooked. A lot of people don't give it the credit for it is for helping you catch fish, because a lot of people, when they get thinking about fishing and how they're going to catch more fish and become better anglers, they get caught up on lures and techniques and stuff like that. But there's still some sort of primitive primal aspects of fishing that you really have to adopt, especially if you're fishing shallow water, and stealth and being quiet is one of them. So I want to give you guys some tips and advice on that. First of all, I don't think a lot of people give fish the credit, especially bass, that they deserve about how aware they are for their environment. Now, one of the things for example, what I'll use here is bass can find and detect a minnow, like a 2-inch long minnow, swimming in pitch black darkness at midnight in dirty water and catch it and eat it. They are extremely aware of their environment. And the thing about it is, if you're, say for example, if there's a bass living underneath the boat dock and you're working your boat up towards that boat dock, you may think that you're sneaking up on that fish and that the fish can't know you're there. But I can promise you, if you're 100 feet away from that dock and you've got your trolling motor on and you've got your electronics on, that bass knows that you're there. It knows it's coming. And what happens is, when a bass becomes aware of something foreign in their environment, not necessarily that a boat is foreign, because it's something they're used to ever since they're born, but it sometimes it can put them in a negative feeding mode. So everything that you can do to become stealthy and quiet is going to be a big help in catching fish off a shallow cover. So here's some tips and advice I want to give you guys on how you can get the most of that. First of all, as you're approaching a piece of cover, or if you're fishing down a shoreline, keep your trolling motor on the lowest possible speed that you can go and still make enough progress against the wind or the current or whatever you're working against. But keep that trolling motor at a low speed. Don't ever turn it up on 7 or 8 and get on and off it constantly. One of the things that'll help is if you can keep your trolling motor on all the time but at a low speed. That on and off noise is a lot of times what'll spook the fish versus just the trolling motor on all the time. Second to that, guys, if you're fishing visible shallow targets, say for example you're fishing laydowns along the bank or you're fishing docks or whatever, and if you don't absolutely have to have it, turn your electronics off, because bass, the electronic ping that a depth finder transducer gives off is another strike negative. So a lot of times in shallow water, if I'm fishing targets and I don't need to know how deep it is, that electronics is going off. Also, guys, try to work with the wind if possible, because if you work with the wind or with the current, you don't have to have your trolling motor on so hard or so high, and you can drift into an area. And one of the things that I like to do is, if I'm coming up on a piece of cover, I like to try to turn my trolling motor on very, very little and try to drift quietly onto that piece of cover, and that'll really help out a lot. Another thing you can do, guys, as stealthy, is make sure the sun is not at your back throwing a shade on a piece of object. You don't want shade to come in and hit a piece of structure that you're going to fish before you make a cast. That's just another thing that can turn them off. But the main thing is just be aware of the fact that, and respect the fact that the bass are very aware of their environment, and anything that you can do to keep your in the boat noises to a minimum is going to help out. Don't be rattling tackle boxes around. Don't be real clumsy moving around in the boat. Try to be quiet and stealthy, and fishing is just like hunting. You got to be quiet and stealthy in order to get the best results. So anyway, hope it helps. We'll talk later.